Hi, welcome to the Dylan Show. Tonight's guest is Sam Rochon, Master Magician of the entire world after he won the Master Magician Championships 2 years ago. Sam, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking, Dylan.
So, how did you end up being the Master Magician of the whole world? Where did your whole magician career start?
Oh, I think it would probably be easiest to explain if we go right back to the very, very beginning of my life. I was born in China, and I was abandoned at a very, very early age by my parents, orphaned, and forced to live off the streets.
So, why did you move? Why didn't you stay in China?
Because I had nothing left for me there. I had no parents, I had no money, and I wanted to get a fresh start on my life. So I packed up everything that I had and I started traveling north towards Mongolia.
So what happened in Mongolia? I heard there was a huge event that changed your entire life in Mongolia.
That's absolutely right, Dylan. The most pivotal event in my entire life, meeting my mentor, Naran Batar. It was kind of a strange first meeting. I was walking through the steps and I saw him sitting there in the field, just meditating, it seemed like. And when I approached him, he asked me to take a seat beside him. And he handed me a deck of cards, and he started instructing me and teaching me how to use them in ways that I've never seen before. He was a master magician. I trained with Naran Batar for many years, and he taught me a huge amount of things that you could do with a deck of cards that I never would have even imagined before. And after many, many years of training, he released me from his mentorship. He believed that my skill and talent with a deck of cards was strong enough, and he wanted to take on another student.
Why did you leave Mongolia? What ended up happening there that made you leave?
I was completely done my training with Naran Batar, and there was really nothing left for me in Mongolia, so I decided to get on the move again and start a new life elsewhere with my newfound talents. I traveled north again. Eventually, I reached Russia and the town of St. Petersburg.
You left St. Petersburg just about 3 years ago. And there was an event that drove you out of there. What happened?
When I first got there, I had no supplies. I had completely run out of food. I had no money and no way of living. But I did have all the talents and skills that Naran Batar taught me. And so I began to swindle people on the streets with a deck of cards, playing a few different card games. They weren't exactly fair, but that's how I made my money.
That sounds like it'd be a good source of income there.
I wasn't making a huge amount. It was enough to get by, though.
So why'd you move out of Russia?
Well, eventually my con artist career ground to a halt because I tried to trick the wrong type of person. And this girl approached my table with a huge amount of money, something that I've never seen before. And I was pretty excited because I knew I had this one in the bag. Started my con just like any other time. However, when I revealed that she had lost and went to take the money, she stopped me and revealed the trick that I had pulled on her. Needless to say, she was very, very angry. And it should also be mentioned, I didn't know this at the time, but I found out later on, after I was getting all sorts of trouble, that she was the head of the Russian mafia. And they chased me down with bounty hunters and all other sorts of undesirable folk. That's what forced me to leave Russia.
How could you possibly escape? Those are pretty dangerous people.
Well, I realized I had to get right out of there as far as possible, away from St. Petersburg. And so, with the winnings that I earned from that one game with the Russian mob boss, I paid off a cargo loader for a barge ship. And he stowed me away, and off I went across the ocean.
Where'd you end up?
I was found out eventually in the cargo area of the barge ship, and my ride was over. This is when we had made port, and so I had to jump off, made my way down the St. Lawrence River. So when I crawled out of the river, I was completely exhausted, but I had finally made it to a destination. So I washed up on the bank of the river and made my way towards the city of Toronto, believe it or not.
So you're in Toronto now. What happened there?
I met the love of my life. She was a gorgeous girl. Her name was Iana, and we just had something special together. After I met her, she completely changed my life around. I used my talents for good, for the entertainment of people. I became a professional magician. And everything was going perfectly well until my old master, Naran Batar, the master Mongolian magician, found me in Toronto.
So that's where everything stopped.
That's right. Naran Batar believed that I was squandering my gifts. He believed that my new love, Iana, was the cause of this. And so one day when I was out with her, I left for just a moment, and Naran Batar took that time to strike. And he killed her. He killed my sweet tarts.
That's horrible.
It was horrible. And afterwards, all I could think about was revenge. I was in a rage. I've never been so angry in my entire life. I wanted to destroy Naran Batar. I wanted to humiliate him in a way that he's never experienced before. And I found the perfect opportunity to do exactly that. The World Championship of Magic. I knew he would be entering. He was the now 6th-time reigning world champion, but I knew that I could beat him.
And you did.
Eventually. It was a long road. I beat many other contestants, but eventually I made it to the final round. So I was facing off against my old master and now nemesis, Naran Batar, in the World Championships of Magic. It was my turn to perform first trick, and so I take my deck of cards and go right at it. I perform my first trick, something new that Naran Batar has never seen before. And once I've completed it, I can tell he's surprised. I've got him on the ropes, and I have a little trick up my sleeve. It's his turn now. He begins his magic trick, asks me to select a card. I do, but I switch that card out for another one. I replace the card. He continues with his trick, eventually failing it in front of an audience of millions.
So you cheated in the World Championships of Magic.
Using what my old master taught me. Now it's my turn to perform another trick for Naran Batar and the audience. And I know exactly what I'm going to do. Something that I've worked on for months before this. Perfected it. One of the most difficult tricks in all of magic. I begin, and I continue, and I complete the trick. Complete silence. Everyone is stunned, especially Naran Batar. His mouth gapes open for a few seconds before he goes completely hysterical. He leaves the table, clutches his chest, and after running backstage, he dies of a heart attack.
So your master is dead, you're now the world champion of magic. What happened next?
I decide to use my talents for the good of all of mankind. I open a magician rehabilitation center for old con artists and swindlers to teach them the way that cards are supposed to be used for entertainment.
So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Sam, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dylan. It was my pleasure.
Rolling in the dough.
I'm rolling around in the dough.